Have you ever thought about the impact of a disease that is nearly always deadly, yet remains largely unknown to the public? Today, we're shedding light on a medical condition that is as devastating as it is obscure. Mesothelioma. Mesothelioma is a type of cancer that develops in the thin layer of tissue that covers many of the internal organs, known as the mesothelium. It's a disease that can often go unnoticed until it's too late, silently wreaking havoc on the body. For those diagnosed, it not only poses a significant health challenge, but also brings about emotional and financial burdens for both patients and their families. The origins of mesothelioma can be traced back to a single primary cause: exposure to asbestos. This naturally occurring mineral, once hailed for its heat resistance and insulation properties, was widely used in the construction industry until the late 20th century. However, the tiny fibers of asbestos, when inhaled or ingested, can embed themselves in the mesothelium, leading to the development of this lethal disease. There are common misconceptions surrounding mesothelioma. Many believe that it's a disease of the past, given the decline of asbestos use. However, the stark reality is that mesothelioma has a latency period of 20 to 50 years after exposure. This means that individuals exposed to asbestos in the past are only now beginning to feel the devastating impacts of this disease. Others believe that mesothelioma is a smoker's disease. While smoking can exacerbate the condition, it's important to note that mesothelioma can affect anyone who has been exposed to asbestos regardless of their smoking habits. The silent killer, mesothelioma, is a disease that demands our attention and understanding. It's a call to action for greater awareness, more comprehensive research, and stronger advocacy for those affected. As we delve deeper into this topic, we invite you to join us on this journey of knowledge and compassion towards those living with mesothelioma. To understand the depth of this situation, we turn to the experts who deal with this deadly disease every day. Every day in labs and hospitals across the world, medical professionals are wrestling with the realities of mesothelioma. From oncologists to pathologists, these experts are the ones who see the disease in its rawest form, who understand the intricacies of its behavior and who bear witness to its devastating effects on patients and their families. Dr. Jane Doe, a renowned oncologist, discusses the severity of mesothelioma. She explains, "Mesothelioma is a particularly aggressive form of cancer, often associated with exposure to asbestos. It primarily affects the lining of the lungs and abdomen, and by the time it's diagnosed, it's usually in its advanced stages. This makes treatment extremely challenging." Dr. John Smith, a leading pathologist, delves into the prognosis for patients diagnosed with mesothelioma. "The prognosis for mesothelioma patients is generally poor," he says, with many patients living less than 2 years after diagnosis. However, survival rates can vary depending on several factors, including the stage of the disease and the overall health of the patient. Despite the grim realities, medical professionals are not without hope. Dr. Jane Doe emphasizes the importance of early detection and the continuous advancements in treatment options. While mesothelioma is a daunting diagnosis, we're constantly researching and developing new methods of treatment. Every patient's journey is unique, and we're dedicated to finding the best course of action for each individual. Dr. John Smith speaks to the resilience of the patients he's encountered. "Mesothelioma is a tough diagnosis to face, but the strength and determination I've seen in my patients is truly inspiring. They're fighters, and that's what keeps us going." In the face of a disease as severe as mesothelioma, understanding the realities is crucial. It's a battle fought on many fronts, from the microscopic level in research labs to the personal level in the lives of patients and their families. From the mouths of those closest to the disease, we get a glimpse into the harsh realities of mesothelioma. Scene script. Behind every statistic there is a human story. Let's hear some of them. The first story comes from a former construction worker named James. He had been in the industry for over 30 years when he was diagnosed with mesothelioma. He says, "I always thought I was taking the right precautions, but sometimes that's not enough. The diagnosis was a shock, a real punch to the gut." Then we hear from Mary, a mother of 3. Mary's husband, a naval mechanic, passed away from mesothelioma. "He loved his job and he loved his country," she says, "but we didn't know the risks. We didn't know what those asbestos fibers could do." There is also the story of Sophia, a young woman who lost her father to mesothelioma when she was just a teenager. "I remember him coughing, growing weaker," Sophia shares. "It was hard to see him like that. It's a memory that stays with you." And then we have the tale of an elderly couple, George and Margaret. George, a retired firefighter, was diagnosed with mesothelioma. "We've faced many challenges together," Margaret tells us, "but this is different. It's like a shadow that hangs over us." These stories are just a few among thousands. Each one is unique, yet they share a common thread: a life-altering diagnosis and the emotional upheaval that follows. They speak of the shock, the fear, the uncertainty. They tell of the pain and the sorrow, the resilience and the hope. But these narratives are not meant to sadden us. Rather, they serve as a powerful reminder of the human toll of mesothelioma. They underscore the urgency of our mission to raise awareness, to advocate for patients, and to push for more research and better treatments. These are not just stories, they are a cry for awareness, support, and action. In the face of such a formidable disease, what can be done? This is where mesothelioma advocacy organizations step in. These organizations are the pillars of support for patients battling mesothelioma. They are the champions, the cheerleaders, and the defenders, tirelessly striving to provide a beacon of hope in what can often seem like a sea of despair. But what exactly do these organizations do? Firstly, they offer invaluable support to patients and their families. This comes in many forms, from providing information and resources about the disease to emotional support and counseling. They help patients understand their diagnosis, navigate the complexities of treatment options, and cope with the emotional roller coaster that a mesothelioma diagnosis can bring. But their role doesn't stop there. These organizations also work tirelessly to raise awareness about mesothelioma. They shine a spotlight on the disease, bringing it into public consciousness, breaking down misconceptions, and reducing stigma. Through education and outreach programs, they ensure that mesothelioma is not a silent killer lurking in the shadows, but a recognized health concern that requires our collective attention. Perhaps most crucially, mesothelioma advocacy organizations lobby for research funding. They are the voice of the patients in the corridors of power, fighting for greater investment in research to find better treatments and ultimately, a cure. They are the advocates pushing for policy changes that can improve the lives of mesothelioma patients, from access to cutting-edge treatments to financial assistance for those burdened by medical costs. In essence, these organizations stand in the gap, bridging the chasm between the cold, clinical world of medical science and the warm, human world of the patients and their families. They are the unsung heroes, working behind the scenes to make a difference in the lives of those affected by mesothelioma. And so, in the face of this formidable disease, they offer hope. They remind us that while mesothelioma may be a tough adversary, it is not an unbeatable one. With determination, solidarity, and a collective will, we can make strides in the fight against this disease. Advocacy organizations are the lifeline for many mesothelioma patients, bridging the gap between despair and hope. Now that we know the realities of mesothelioma, the question becomes, what can we do about it? Let's delve into the ways you can support mesothelioma advocacy organizations and the impact of these actions. There are many paths to joining the fight against mesothelioma, and each one of them can make a significant difference. Firstly, consider financial contributions. Donations, whether small or large, can greatly benefit these organizations. They rely heavily on generous contributions from individuals like you to fund research, support patients, and spread awareness. Every dollar donated goes towards making a difference in the lives of those affected by mesothelioma. If you're unable to make a financial contribution, don't worry, there are other ways you can help. Volunteering your time is a valuable way to support these organizations. Whether it's helping to organize fundraising events, offering your skills and expertise, or simply offering a listening ear to those battling mesothelioma, your time can make a real impact. Another way to join the fight is through advocacy. By using your voice to spread awareness about mesothelioma, you can help to educate others about this disease. Share information on your social media platforms, talk to friends and family, or even contact your local representatives to push for more funding for mesothelioma research. Lastly, consider participating in or organizing fundraising events. From charity runs to bake sales, these events not only raise funds for mesothelioma advocacy organizations, but they also raise awareness about the disease. Each of these actions, no matter how small they may seem, can contribute significantly to the fight against mesothelioma. And remember, it's not just about the money, it's about bringing hope to those affected by this disease, and showing them that they're not alone in their fight. So, now that you know the many ways you can join the fight against mesothelioma, I encourage you to take the next step. Get involved, take action, and make a difference. Remember, your involvement can make a difference in the fight against mesothelioma.